Good afternoon, Cedar Rapids. It's great to see y'all out here. It's a little hot. It reminds me of my home state of Texas. First of all, I want to thank everybody with Progress Iowa, all of the volunteers that helped put this together today. Y'all look fantastic. Thank you for doing the hard work that it takes to make sure that here in Iowa, y'all take back the state legislature. And the next time we have a governor's race and all the way down the state ticket, that y'all take back the state house, the governor's mansion, all of those positions that are so important here in the state of Iowa. You know, I'm Julian Castro, and I often feel like I need a name tag these days because I have a twin brother. Some of y'all may have seen my twin brother, Joaquin. Sometimes you see him on like Wolf Blitzer's show or on MSNBC. He likes to say that the way to tell us apart is that I'm 1 minute uglier than he is. The real way to tell us apart is that I'm a minute older and he's the one in Congress. So I'm the one running for president, and you know, my brother and I grew up on the west side of San Antonio with my grandmother and my mother. My grandmother had come over to the United States in 1922 when she was 7 years old with her little sister because their parents died and their closest relatives lived in San Antonio. She got yanked out of school when she was still in elementary, so she never finished even the 5th grade, and ended up working as a maid, a cook, and a babysitter for her entire career. She raised my mom as a single parent. My mom raised my brother and me as a single parent after the age of 8. My brother and I are proud products of the public schools of San Antonio. I had the opportunity to go off to college and law school and come back home and become the first in my family to be a professional as a lawyer, and then get into politics and get onto the San Antonio City Council, serve for 4 years, and then 4 years after that, become mayor of my hometown of San Antonio, and serve for 5 years until I got a call on April 16, 2014 from President Barack Obama. And I remember the date because it's not every day that the president calls and asks you if you want a job. I had just driven through the drive-thru at Panda Express. And you know how on your phone it says like block call or unknown? It said private. So if you ever get a phone call that says private, answer it. Hopefully it'll be me on the other end of the line calling you. I did answer that call, and I ended up serving the last 2.5 years of the Obama administration as Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. Got to manage a department of 8,000 employees, a $48 billion budget, 54 field offices across the country, and to see in 39 states and 100 different communities, big and small, how communities are grappling not only with housing, but everything that is connected to that. The fact that where you live often determines the kind of school that your kid goes to. It often determines what kind of job opportunities are available to you. And in places like Flint, Michigan that I visited a month ago, whether you can do something as simple as drink clean water, oftentimes whether you have access to fresh food, and the health care that you get. I'm running for president because I feel tremendously blessed with the opportunity that I've had in life in this country. And I want to make sure that no matter who you are, whether you live in a big city or a small town, no matter what your background is, that you can have those kinds of opportunities too, because we come together as one nation with one destiny. I'm convinced that in the years ahead, the destiny for our beautiful country is to be the smartest, the healthiest, the fairest, and the most prosperous nation on earth. The smartest, the healthiest, the fairest, and the most prosperous nation on earth. If we're going to be the smartest nation on earth, it starts with universal pre-K for 3 and 4-year-olds. We also have to improve K through 12 education by paying teachers what they deserve. My education plan includes a tax credit of up to $10,000 for each teacher. It also means continuing to reduce class size, investing in facilities, and making sure that no matter what the needs of a child are, they can have those needs met in the school that they go to. Because too often times the parents of special needs children feel like they have to be lawyers to argue with a bureaucracy that sometimes makes it hard for their child to get the education that they deserve. We can do better than that. It also means that because we know that jobs require more knowledge and more skill than ever before, that we need to invest in trade school education in our high schools so that folks can get gainful employment after high school if that's what they choose, and that we need to pursue tuition-free public state universities, community colleges, and job training and certification programs. And this is not a radical idea. There are folks here that will remember just a generation or two ago, it was common for a lot of public state universities to be tuition-free. We need to do that now more than ever before to be competitive and to help ensure that our young people can get good jobs in the 21st century economy. If we're going to be the healthiest nation on earth, we need a different healthcare system. The grandmother that I grew up with had diabetes, and I watched as her condition got worse and worse until right before she passed away, she had to have one of her feet amputated, which, as y'all probably know, is fairly common for severe diabetics. But that whole time she had Medicare. I want to make sure that we strengthen Medicare for the people who are on it and that we make it available to everyone who wants it. And I also believe, though, that if somebody has their own private health insurance plan that they want to hold on to, that they should be able to do that. What I don't believe is that the profits of drug companies or other companies should ever determine whether somebody gets health care in this country. I also think that it's time for us to do things that we should have done a long time ago, like end this division between physical health care and mental health care and fund mental health care the way that it should be. If we're going to be the fairest nation on earth, it means reimagining our justice system so that everybody is innocent until proven guilty, investing in public defenders, cash bail reform, sentencing reform, and I'm the only candidate that has put forward a police reform plan as well. Because how many of these videos do we have to watch of especially young black men in our country that are treated differently, oftentimes with excessive force by police? Now, I was mayor of San Antonio before I was housing secretary. I know that we have a lot of great police officers, but I don't think that this is a problem of just a case of bad apples. The system is broken, and we need to fix it by increasing transparency and accountability in law enforcement, by working to mend the rift that often exists between police and some communities. We can do that in our country. If we're going to be the fairest nation on earth, it also means that we need to pass the Equal Rights Amendment and ensure that women get equal pay for equal work, and pass the Equality Act so that no matter what your sexual orientation is or your gender identity, you can't be discriminated against when you go look for a house or an apartment or in your job just because of who you are. When I was at HUD, we passed a transgender rule to make sure that if you're transgender and you show up and you need shelter at a publicly funded shelter, you have to be accommodated according to your identity with what you're comfortable with. In our America, we will not leave anybody behind. There will be no second-class citizens. This will be an America for all. If we're going to be the most prosperous nation on earth, it has to mean prosperity for everybody. We need to raise the minimum wage. We need to ensure that our labor unions can organize effectively in our country. We need to invest in affordable housing because the rent is going up through the roof in too many places, both big and small. I put out a housing plan that is a blueprint of how we can do that. It also means that we need to reform our immigration system to one that maintains border security but that uses compassion and common sense instead of cruelty. And y'all saw today the tweet of the president suggesting that 4 congresswomen should go back home, he said. You know, this isn't the first time that we've seen this in our country. Go back to Mexico, they said. Go back to Africa, they said. No Irish need apply, they said. The Chinese are excluded, they said. Throughout the generations, there have been people who build their political careers on hate and division and fear and paranoia and making people the other. We are not going to do that. We're going to be about everybody in this country, an America for all people that believes in basic compassion and humanity and respect. That's the kind of America that we're going to build. You see, I don't want to make our country anything again. I want us to be better than ever in the years to come. I don't want to take us backward. I want to go into the future stronger than ever. And so I wanted to come here today and I wanted to ask for your support because I know what it's like to struggle like many of the folks here in Iowa and throughout our country, to grow up in a single parent household, to know the worry of not knowing whether you're going to make the rent payment at the beginning of the month. And we need an America that works for everybody. That's the kind of America that I want to build. Just the other day, somebody asked me, what would the first thing be if I were elected president? What would I do? And I said the first thing I would do is sign an executive order that afternoon to recommit the United States to the Paris Climate Accord so that we lead again on sustainability. And take executive action to make sure that we protect a woman's right to choose and have an abortion if that's what she chooses. And then I said, I actually look forward to a moment a little bit earlier in the day when it's traditional for the incoming president to usher out the outgoing president. I can just imagine being there on the White House lawn, getting ready to say goodbye to Donald Trump and Melania Trump, being there with my wife, Erica, and our 10-year-old, Karina, and our 4-year-old, Christian. The helicopter will be right there in the distance with the door open and ready to go. All of the cameras will be there. And right before he leaves, right before he walks away, I'm going to tell him, adios. Thank you all very much.